Part 3, Chapter Birth. As he gazed at the still form, a shiver of horror passed over Andrew. And now, when he looked at the still form, the stillborn child, a newborn baby, a form of shiver. Shiver means a fear passed through him over Andrew after all that he had promised. And he remembered that he had promised Mr. Morgan. His face heated with own exertions, and now his face was heated with his own exertions. Exertions means hard work. mm, uh, Efforts chilled suddenly. Suddenly, his face chilled. He hesitated, torn between his desire to attempt to resuscitate the child and his obligation towards the mother, who was herself in a desperate state. And now he was hesitated, torn between his desire to attempt. Now he was in a dilemma, torn between two desires. His first desire was to make the mother correct, make the mother all right, who was still under the effect of anesthesia. And the second, his desire was to see to the child who was dead born. And his desire was to resuscitate. Resuscitate means to bring to life again. To make somebody start breathing again, to bring to life again. And his moral duty towards mother, who was herself in a desperate state, who was still in a very hopeless situation. The dilemma was so urgent that he did not solve it consciously. Or the dilemma was so urgent that he did not give any time to it. Blindly, instinctively, he gave the child to the nurse and turned his attention to Susan Morgan, who now lay collapsed. And blindly, instinctively. Instinctively here means guided by the natural impulse. Without thinking much, he gave the child to the nurse, and he made up his mind that he will look towards, he see to the mother. And he turned his attention to Susan, who now lay collapsed. She was unconscious, almost pulseless, and not yet out of ether. Ether means that same, a liquid which is used to make patients unconscious before operation. That is anesthesia. So she was not yet out of it. His haste was desperate, and his haste was very, very critical, very, very hopeless. A frantic race against her ebbing strength. It was a mad, frantic means mad or quick race against her ebbing, decreasing strength. He could see that her pulse was going down and down, and he has to do something very, very fast to save her. It took him only an instant to smash a glass ampule and inject the medicine. And secondly, he took a glass ampule, that is a small bottle, and he took the medicine from it. Then he flung down the hypodermic syringe, and then he flung down. He threw away the hypodermic syringe. You know what is a syringe? And worked unsparingly to restore the flaccid woman. And then he worked severely, strictly. He started working to restore, to bring back the flaccid, soft, weak woman. That is Mrs. Morgan. And after a few minutes of feverish effort, her heart strengthened. But thank God, after a few feverish effort, that was a great effort by this doctor, he could find that her heart got some strength. He saw that he might safely leave her, and now he was happy that he could leave her. He swung around, और वो एकदम से घूमता है. He turned around. In his shirt sleeves, his hair sticking to his damp brow, and he could see that his hair was sticking to his brow because of the sweat. Where's the child? He at once asked, where's the child? The midwife made a frightened gesture. She had placed it beneath the bed, and she placed the child. She gave the indication. She made with a gesture the indication. She said the child is beneath the bed. In a flash, in a moment, or at once, Andrew knelt down, fishing amongst the sodden newspapers below the bed, and he searched. Fishing means he is searching. He searched the child among the soaked newspapers below the bed. He pulled out the child. A boy perfectly formed. It was a boy, very well formed. All the organs there nicely seen. The limp, warm body was white and soft as tallow, and his limp body, his lifeless body, not stiff. है ना? Limp means weak, soft body, was like a tallow. Tallow is like a fat of animal. जैसे animal का कोई fat होता है, ऐसा लग रही थी. The cord hastily slashed lay like a broken stem, and the umbilical cord, you know that the cord, the tube that passes from the fetus to the placenta, which is called umbilical cord, that was cut, slashed, and it was lying like a broken stem. The skin was of a lovely texture, smooth and tender, very beautiful skin it was, beautifully. And the head lolled means hung out, और उसका जो head था वो on a thin neck, छोटे से neck पे वो relax पड़ा हुआ था without any life. The limbs seemed boneless, and his hands and the legs, they looked like boneless, not stiff. Still kneeling, Andrew stared at the child with a haggard frown. And still he was kneeling on his knees, and he stared. He looked at the child with a haggard. Haggard means tired frown. He gave a very tired, worried anger. With anger, he looked at him. The whiteness meant only one thing: asphyxia. Pallida, and his mind unnaturally tense, raced back to a case he once had seen in the Samaritan. And now he thought of it, that the whiteness in the child, it means asphyxia. Asphyxia pallida means suffocation और unconsciousness caused by lack of oxygen. वो एकदम समझ गया कि pallida है because the body did not receive oxygen. Unnaturally tense, raced back to a case he had once remembered. Raced back means he remembered the case he once had seen in the Samaritan. He had seen somewhere. To the treatment that had been used. Instantly he was on his feet, and he also remembered the treatment which was given, and instantly at once he was on his feet. Get me hot water and cold water. He threw out to the nurse, and basins too. He told her to bring hot and cold water and the basins, two large vessels also. Bartan, quickly, quick. But doctor, she faltered. Faltered means she spoke without confidence, her eyes on the pallid body of the child. The nurse said that she looked at the pale body, and she said, Doctor, because she thought that now the child is dead. Nothing can be done. Quick, he shouted. Snatching a blanket, he laid the child upon it and began the special method of respiration. And he took the child from from the newspapers, and then he laid him on the blanket, and he started his special method of respiration. The basins arrived, and the ewer, that is a large jug, the big iron kettle of hot water. Frantically, he splashed cold water into one basin, into the other, he mixed water as hot as his hand could bear. And frantically means madly, swiftly, he splashed. He poured the cold water into one basin and hot water into another, which his hand could bear. Then, like some crazy juggler, and then like some magician, he hurried the child between the two, now plunging it into icy and now into the steaming bath. He plunged the child, he dipped the child into one vessel, into icy cold water, and then into the warm water. 15 minutes passed with this exercise. Sweat was now running into Andrew's eyes, blinding him, and he could not see clearly because of the sweat. One of his sleeves hung down, dripping. One of his sleeves fell down into the water. His breath came pantingly, and now his breath came pantingly. Pantingly means he was gasping for breath. It was difficult for him to take breath. But no breath came from the lax body of the child. But unfortunately, no breath came from the lax body, soft body of the child.